Hi everyone, this is Jenna Griffiths of Earth School. We're discussing hand shapes with Richard Unga of the International Institute of Hand Analysis today.
The archetypes represent costumes that we wear or costumes that we own. It's as if we have a closet, and in the closet maybe are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different sets of clothing that we can wear. And we go out into the world, and you have to be wearing your clothing out in the world, or, well, I don't know if you have to wear clothing in the country you live in, but even in San Francisco, they have a rule now that you can't walk around naked. Although that was in San Francisco, that's a new rule. But nonetheless, you wear your costume and you interact with the world. So there's a lot of people who are using archetype classes, books that they've read, workshops with Carolyn Miss, etc., to learn their archetypes, because each archetype has a story. And to understand the story is to understand the role that you play, the strengths that you have available to you, your resources, what obstacles you face. And when you understand the story of the herald, the story of the philosopher, the story of the poetess, to look at the strengths and weaknesses, and then to look back into your own life story and see how they have played out is very useful. But when people have been doing archetype work and they come to see me, one of the tricky things is that nobody tells them what their archetype is. It's their job to read the stories, hear the stories, and then decide for themselves which archetype fits me. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's useful. Just the exploration itself is very useful. But one of the more useful things about hand analysis is that the hand identifies your archetype. This could be very important. First of all, I find that a solid percentage, not quite half, but a solid percentage of people on the planet have completely misidentified their archetype. They're living an archetype that actually doesn't belong to them. They learned it from their mommy and daddy. They decided in their peer group in third grade that it would be cool to be the jester, or it would be cool to be the designer. And not that any of these archetypes are bad. It's just that if you misidentify your archetype, you're in the wrong movie. You can't get to the life purpose that's in your fingerprints. Creating your life of meaning is derailed by misidentification of your archetype. And like I say, a large number of people have misidentified it. If we add in the number of people who don't understand the storyline of their archetype, then we have an overwhelming majority of the people. And I want to give you an example. Excuse me. I want to give you an example from a reading I did just the other day. I was reading for a fellow, and I saw two archetypes clear as a bell in his hand shape. This is hand shape alone. It doesn't include the lines of the fingerprints. He opens his hands, we say hello, and turn on the recording, and boom, I'm looking at two archetypes, both at the same time. I'm looking at the forest ranger, and I'm looking at the storyteller. The forest ranger is a combination earth hand and a dominant Saturn finger, and there was no trouble seeing that. It was like so present. And the forest ranger likes to set things right. I named it for the fellow who walks through the woods and helps people put out their fire correctly, cleans up the trail, tells people the right way to clean up their garbage so that they don't leave anything for the bears. This is a person making things right, and there's a solitudinal path. You know, the earthy isn't all party and games, and Saturn is very solitudinal. You put the two together, and the archetype, the forest ranger, comes to mind. The fellow also had storyteller. And if you've ever been to any of the national parks in North America, you very well might have met a storytelling forest ranger. The storyteller is a slightly elongated Mercury finger and an enlarged moon. So we have a storytelling forest ranger type. And in the lines of his hands, the fellow had a star on the moon. So this is spiritual, intuitive, search for meaning, storytelling, forest ranger. And there's any number of occupations that would fit this. Somebody who wrote songs for children, that he goes to the hospital, let's say, and sings songs to the burn children and helps them feel good about who they are, even though life isn't so good at the moment. Somebody who's literally a forest ranger or some other wilderness guide who leads the campfire talk. I mean, the two of us together, my client and me, could brainstorm about the type of careers that fit this archetype. But with these three factors, forest ranger, storyteller, star on the moon, we have triangulated. We've got three separate elements, and we can combine these and get ridiculously specific about what fits for the person in life. Now, this client in question came in to see me because they had career questions. They were making money, they were making a living, and life wasn't terrible, but they weren't happy with their job. It wasn't giving them fulfillment. And when I brought out these three elements, they knew immediately what I was talking about. They could see what I was saying in terms of the earlier events in their life, and we could spend our session brainstorming about how to bring these elements forward as a career option. And this is not an unusual or a unique case. When I can get three hand-shape elements or two hand-shape elements and a key line formation, if I can get them together and triangulate, I can be, again, ridiculously specific about life path opportunities. This tells me what the person's dharma could be, what their life activity that fits who they really are at the deepest level, what that is. It's then my job to walk this element, take this combination, this triangulated combination, to the life purpose printed in the fingerprints, and boom, we have the reading. And it is so useful, so specific, and is really helpful to people who are sitting at a career crossroads. And I don't know, maybe half the people who come to see me are at a career crossroads one way or another, and using the archetypes helps me answer their questions.